The room was thick with tension, suffocating and heavy, as I stood at the center, hands trembling, clutching Daniel's made-up will. Each word stung like a knife, revealing my brother's betrayal. Through blurred vision, I saw the gleam of satisfaction in Daniel's eyes, my once beloved family now revealed as strangers, their approval replaced by avarice. "I don't understand," I whispered, my voice barely breaking the silence as disbelief threatened to swallow me whole. "After everything I've done for you all." The tightness in my chest grew harder to bear as the implications of Daniel's actions settled over me. My sacrifices, countless late nights and quiet support for their ambitions, were all dismissed, washed away by greed. They thought they had left me with nothing, but I was left with everything. The phrase echoed in my mind, sharp and painful, a relentless reminder of my loss. The family I'd devoted my life to now treated me like a burden rather than a beloved member. The chill in the air intensified as Daniel's mocking laugh reverberated through the room, mingling with Sophia's insincere sweetness. "Clara, just be grateful for what you had. You knew your role was to support us." Her voice dripped with condescension, and anger flared within me, simmering just beneath the surface. I wanted to scream, to tear through the facade they wore, but all I could manage was a shaky breath. Framed family pictures lined the walls, capturing moments of laughter and love from days when I believed in the sanctity of our bond. Now, those smiles felt like daggers, each frame a testament to a past distorted by Daniel's taste for power. "What have you even done for the business?" he sneered, his words like poison. "You have no vision. It was always meant to be mine." The walls seemed to close in on me, the air heavy with tension as I grasped the reality of my position. My father Eli sat silently, embodying traditional values and yet blind to Daniel's manipulative game. A ghost of a patriarch, oblivious to the discord growing within our family, he watched us with vacant eyes. I couldn't comprehend how he could ignore the truth right in front of him. As I looked back at the amused expressions of Daniel and Sophia, a surge of sadness washed over me. There was a time when I had trusted them, when family meant support and love, not scheming and betrayal. The gulf between us felt insurmountable. My heart ached for the bonds that had once held us together. Yet now I was surrounded by people who saw me merely as an obstacle to be removed. With every brutal detail of the will whispered around the table, a new understanding dawned upon me. I was now a mere spectator in a cruel drama, left adrift in an emotional storm. Their laughter echoed, but I was quickly seized by the need to reclaim my dignity. I glanced around the room once more, where familiar faces had turned into sources of pain. In the pit of my stomach, a resolve began to crystallize, one that would drive my next steps. I would not be their victim. I would gather my strength and play my part in this twisted game, all while disguised in their shadow. The pain of betrayal morphed into determination. Little did they know that their treachery had ignited a flame within me, a fierce desire to rise, not solely to reclaim what was mine, but to ensure they could never forget who I was or what I was capable of. In this moment of humiliation, the foundations of my new future began to emerge amid the wreckage. I was breaking free from the bonds of expectation, crafting a promise to myself. I would rebuild my life stronger, my story far from over. As the tension swirled in that family room, bitterness sharpened my focus, and the embers of resilience burned bright within me. I would not vanish into obscurity. I would take back my place, not just for me, but for all the years I had fought, silently and defiantly, for my family to succeed. The days that followed that devastating meeting were shrouded in a suffocating silence that settled like a thick fog over my life. After the betrayal I had suffered at the hands of my own family, I didn't return to the family home. Instead, I sought refuge in a small, sunlit apartment on the edge of the city, a space that was starkly different from the warm familiarity I had known all my life. Each empty room echoed with an unsettling void, but as I filled it with my few cherished belongings, books I adored, delicate porcelain mugs, a comfortable armchair, I desperately tried to breathe life into the quiet, yet they haunted me still. I could not shake off the visions of Daniel's smug grin, his hand waving dismissively as if I were mere debris from his grand life plan. Each time I closed my eyes, memories slashed through my resolve, leaving me restless and frantic. There were the family gatherings filled with laughter, the smell of my mother's homemade pasta wafting through the air, and the warmth of our shared moments that now felt like distant echoes. How could we have crumbled so completely? I thought, my heart heavy with grief. As I sat in the modest living space I now called home, an apartment that felt more like a cage than a sanctuary, I found myself grappling with an overwhelming tidal wave of emotions. I was overcome with sorrow, but underneath that sorrow flickered a fragile hope. The need to reclaim my dignity became my guiding star. In the sharp light of what I had endured, I began to recognize the lessons hidden within my pain. The betrayal stung deeply, yet just as fire can forge steel, I knew I could turn my humiliation into motivation. I shifted my perspective, choosing instead to focus on what I could control rather than wallowing in despair. The urge to retaliate began to take root, nudging at my psyche like a flickering flame. It was invigorating to imagine gathering resources and seeking the shadowed knowledge I needed to navigate this treacherous game life had thrust me into. A plan began to take shape in my mind, a sucker punch of a plan to bring me back from the edges of potentially losing everything. I would gather information, silently observing, gathering intel, waiting for the right moment to strike. One evening, I unearthed an old journal tucked away in a dusty box beneath my bed, filled with the thoughts and aspirations I had pushed aside for the sake of my family. Flipping through the well-worn pages reminded me of what I once believed I could achieve. Stories of dreams floating in my mind urged me to reignite the ambitions I had long buried. Each entry sparked a shudder of recognition. These were not mere dreams, they were possibilities. I remembered my longing to start my own business, to delve into an area where I could flourish rather than shrink behind their shadows. The weight of that realization sent shivers down my spine. What if I started to build my vision from the ground up? Slowly but surely, I began to reclaim the pieces of myself I had surrendered. The thought of entrepreneurship became my tether to the woman I longed to be. I could reclaim control and redefine my identity beyond the suffocating labels they had cast upon me. I decided to immerse myself in research, meticulously studying every marketable skill I possessed. I dove headfirst into online courses, marketing strategies, financial literacy, social media dynamics, a whirlwind of knowledge that filled the void left in my heart. Nights turned into dawns as I consumed lectures and seminars, transitioning from the quiet support I had once offered to a relentless pursuit of empowerment. Each click of the keyboard felt like a hammer striking an anvil, forging the future I yearned for. But even while I pursued new knowledge, memories of my family lingered like shadows. Occasionally, I'd catch myself staring at old photographs or reminders of better days, the times filled with laughter, secrets, and dreams wrapped in sunny afternoons. I stumbled upon a photo of us at a family vacation in the mountains, sunlight dancing off our faces. I closed my eyes, letting the bittersweet nostalgia wash over me, even as the gulf of their absence felt insurmountable. With each passing day that melded into another, I began to push against that pain. Gradually, I forged a new existence built not only on the desire for vengeance but on the undying hope for better days. I had learned to balance a longing for reconciliation with the grit that accompanied my need for justice. I would not just be their afterthought. I would become the architect of my own fate. Bit by bit, I began to connect the dots of information. I poked around my family's business from a distance, discreetly gathering insights they never thought I was capable of obtaining. My research transformed into something tangible. I learned about market trends, customer needs, and competition analysis. I reached out to old contacts, making them aware of my new ambitions, yet remaining cautious enough to conceal my full intent. I submerged my old self into a cauldron of knowledge, allowing the lessons to steep and simmer, all while preparing for the moment when I could rise from the ashes. This was as much about my personal renaissance as it was about teaching Daniel and Sophia that I was more than they believed me to be. I envisioned how their expressions would change from smug satisfaction to awed disbelief when I finally unveiled my rebirth. while I plotted my next move. I remained aware of the lurking shadows, the intimidated fear whispering, "What if you fail?" Clothing myself in doubt, a part of me grappled with that fear, but I learned to silence the negative thoughts. Each time doubt threatened to engulf me, I clung to my mantra. The thought of reclaiming my dignity empowered me like never before. It became my shield against despair, strengthening my resolve. As weeks turned into months, conviction bloomed within me, until possibilities felt infinite. I envisioned the moment where I could stand tall before Daniel and Sophia, reclaiming my dignity with a fierce determination as I unveiled my plans, a culmination of everything they had underestimated. The opportunity would inevitably present itself soon during a gathering they were planning. A family reunion where tensions might bubble and explode. Through the haze of what they had done to me, amidst the bitterness that simmered just under the surface, I began to recognize that I was closer to my goal than I ever anticipated. As the time drew near, my heart raced with excitement and apprehension. I was armed with knowledge, ambition, and an unbreakable will. I would reclaim my life and redefine who I had become. As the date of the family reunion approached, the anticipation thrummed steadily within me like a taut string ready to snap. I spent my days ensconced in my apartment poring over my father's journals and business outlines. Each entry illuminated not just strategies, but also a legacy that I had the chance to honor. I delighted in the details of his vision, growing more attached to the idea that I could take this knowledge and turn it into something extraordinary. A chill of excitement crept down my spine when I realized that I possessed a unique opportunity. This was more than just a chance to reclaim my dignity. It felt like a divine passing of the torch. I could breathe life back into my father's aspirations. Perhaps this would be the moment I could step out from their shadows, reclaim my rightful place in this family, and create a legacy of my own. That evening, as I scribbled notes from one of his outlines, I stumbled upon an old brittle envelope tucked between the pages. My fingers shook with the thrill of discovery, and I pulled it out delicately. Inside was a letter that had been sealed with a faded wax stamp, the kind that evokes a sense of history and gravitas. It bore my father's name scrawled in elegant cursive script. With a mixture of trepidation and eagerness, I unfolded the letter. It appeared to be an apology, a heartfelt letter intended for me, explaining the trials and tribulations he had faced as he ran the family business. As I read, tears pricked my eyes. In his words, I sensed his love for me and the regrets he carried, regrets that he had confided in no one. "I fear I have not given you the foundation you deserve," he wrote. "I want you to know that everything I've built is meant to lift you higher than I ever reached." His acknowledgement of my potential ignited a fire deep within me. This letter wasn't just an apology, it was permission. Permission to believe that I was meant for more, that I had the right to step up as a leader. There, within those inked lines, my father had whispered encouragement with every stroke of his pen. The thought of reclaiming my dignity empowered me like never before. I knew he would have wanted me to fulfill the dream he had for the business. I took that letter and tucked it safely back into the envelope, but kept it in my pockets as a good luck charm, an anchor of courage. As I prepared mentally for the family reunion, the words became a steady drumbeat in my heart, reminding me that I wasn't merely carving out a place in the business. I was honoring a legacy. The evening of the reunion arrived quickly, moments feeling both fleeting and eternal as I dressed carefully. A crisp white blouse paired with fitted black trousers. It was a simple outfit, but I wanted to command attention without drawing undue notice. A kind of understated boldness that matched my newfound mission. Entering my childhood home elicited a wave of nostalgia, yet it quickly morphed into unease. The smell of roasted chicken and the sound of banter hung thick in the air. Everyone seemed blissfully unaware of the depths from which I had emerged and the fury brewing beneath my smile. The room was decorated with bright colors and laughter, but I felt like an outsider stepping into a scene I no longer inhabited. A well-meaning cousin approached me, engaging me in light chit-chat, but my mind buzzed with thoughts of the words I would soon deliver. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked, an inflection of concern lacing her voice. "You seem a bit distant." "Just thinking," I replied, forcing a smile. I couldn't share the battlefield raging within me, nor my fears of standing before my family. Yet, I believed they would witness a transformation soon enough. As drinks were served and the clamor grew louder, I felt a pang of nostalgia mixed with anxiety. I couldn't remain silent forever. Glancing at Daniel and Sophia across the room, I noticed their camaraderie, their shared laughter. It bolstered my resolve to seize the moment, to break the cycle of complacency. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I stood. Turning toward the room, I raised my glass. Not a typical toast, but an announcement. "Can I have everyone's attention for a moment?" Whispers trailed around the gathering, and a hush fell over the room. All eyes shifted toward me, Daniel's brow slightly furrowing. For a heart-stopping instant, their anticipation gripped my throat. "I've spent a lot of time reflecting on our family legacy and the business that has shaped our lives," I started, voice steady and bold. "I recently uncovered some plans and insights from Dad's old journals, ideas he envisioned for our family's business." The gasps of realization swept through the crowd, and I could see Sophia exchanging a glance with Daniel, both taken aback. I continued, my heart racing with empowerment as I unveiled key insights gleaned from my father's writings. Each passage I referenced imbued me with strength as I drew from the years spent pondering my own worth. I highlighted the unique market opportunities he had identified and the strategies he'd mapped out, which were all too important to be left gathering dust. What if we were to rejuvenate the business in a way that honors Dad's legacy while setting ourselves up for the future? I pressed, gauging the room's energy. I believe we can modernize our approach while holding true to what made this business thrive. Silence enveloped the room as I poured my heart into the vision. I described how we could integrate innovative technology, enhance customer engagement, and reclaim market share that had slipped from our grasp. My words began to resonate, the excitement palpable as people leaned forward, captivated. Were they finally seeing me as an equal, as a visionary rather than the overlooked sibling? As I concluded my presentation, I made sure to look directly at Daniel and Sophia. This isn't just about taking the reins. It's about uniting as a family to achieve beyond what any of us could alone. Let's not repeat the past, but innovate into a future where we work together. For a moment, there was a hush in the room, barely a breath exchanged. Then Daniel broke the silence, skepticism rearing its head again as he composed himself. "You think you can just swoop in and take over?" The veneer of arrogance cloaked him, but I noticed the tension lines on his forehead, a telltale sign that he was shaken beneath that bravado. But his challenge only strengthened my resolve. "I'm not here to take over. I'm here to guide us into something greater. Together we can honor Dad's legacy and ensure this family's hard work isn't wasted." The energy shifted almost unrecognizably in that moment, from doubt to intrigue. People murmured in agreement, and I could feel glimmers of hope surfacing in their eyes. My father had wanted this. I was reclaiming my place. In the days following the family reunion, a whirlwind of emotions churned within me. My heart soared, having been met with moments of acceptance and hope, yet it also sank under the weight of Daniel's dismissive remarks. I knew I had made strides, but I could feel that the battle for trust was far from over. The energy in the room had shifted, but I understood just how fragile that breakthrough could be. To confirm the flicker of possibility igniting in my family, I had to step up my game. I began researching more aggressively, diving headfirst into an array of industry reports, attending online webinars, and making connections with professionals who could offer insights. I scoured my father's archives again, digging deeper into market trends and competitor strategies. One morning, as the sun crested the horizon and spilled golden rays through my kitchen window, I grabbed a fresh cup of coffee and sat at the dining table with open notebooks and my laptop. My hands trembled with excitement as I booted up the machine, convinced that even at that early hour, inspiration would come rushing in. With renewed determination, I set out to learn everything I could about our competition. Who were the key players in the industry? What were their strengths and weaknesses? What innovative practices were they implementing that we could pivot to apply? Hours melted away as I immersed myself in case studies, analyzing what had worked for others and what had led to their failures. The thought of reclaiming my dignity empowered me like never before. This mantra drowned out the lingering doubts from that fateful night. I was no longer an afterthought in the family business. I was ready to assert my ideas, and I needed to know exactly why my vision for the future was not just viable, but necessary. As days turned into weeks, I also delved into building an updated business plan, one that honored my father's legacy, but also incorporated fresh ideas and modern techniques. I crafted a pitch that didn't just focus on revitalization. It spoke to sponsorships, new market avenues, and how to leverage digital platforms to reach target audiences. The goal was crystal clear. I wanted to elevate our family business without leaving anyone behind. One afternoon, while buried deep in research, I discovered a particularly influential market trend, an evolving demographic that had previously gone untapped by my family's business, which was too focused on its existing customer base. This revelation struck me like a lightning bolt, and my heart raced as I formulated ideas around potential partnerships that could unlock doors into this new audience. The excitement pushed me to attend a local business networking event that upcoming weekend. It was a nerve-wracking thought, but this was my opportunity to gather intelligence and make connections that could translate into actionable options for our business. Dressed in confident attire, I arrived at the event buzzing with energy, but as soon as I stepped into the crowd of strangers, anxiety tightened my chest. I had learned to navigate uncomfortable environments growing up, but this occasion felt critical. I took a deep breath and remembered my goal. I was not just representing myself. I was stepping into my father's shoes and carrying the weight of that legacy. As I mingled with professionals, I asked questions, listened intently, and took notes on practices that seemed to resonate with my evolving vision. Over the course of the evening, I interacted with several industry leaders who ignited my ideas. I gathered insights that could help position our business for that elusive next phase. The act of networking transformed my perspective as I realized how much I had to offer, how ready I was to step into a role I had previously felt unworthy of. By the end of the event, I felt energized. The connections I made inspired me to push forward and solidified the belief that I was about to redefine my role. But my investigations did not stop there. I took the initiative to reach out to a few experts I had met that night, requesting coffee meetings to further discuss best practices. It was during one of these meetings, a cozy cafe tucked on the corner of a bustling street, that I met a seasoned business consultant named Mia. She listened intently as I shared my ambitions and the plans I was piecing together. "You have a clear vision," she said, nodding along. "But have you accounted for your audience's perception of change, especially given the family dynamics?" Her words struck a chord. I realized I needed to fully address not just the landscape of the business, but also the emotional landscape that came with it. The inertia surrounding Daniel and Sophia's resistance to my plans wasn't just a professional roadblock. It was intricate and deeply personal. I needed to approach my family discussions with sensitivity, understanding the fears and insecurities that might surface. With each conversation and insight, clarity emerged. My vision needed a narrative. I would not only present numbers and statistics, I would create a compelling story that resonated with our shared history, while also inviting them into a future I envisioned, the future we were all desperately seeking. Equipped with this clarity, I drafted a comprehensive action plan that took into account everything I had learned. It addressed the needs of our existing customers while attracting the new demographic we could serve, all framed within the context of unity and an unwavering dedication to our family values. As I prepared to share this updated plan with Daniel and Sophia, the weight of my investigation solidified my belief in my capabilities. I knew this time the presentation had to strike a chord and be wrapped in emotional intelligence, bridging the gap between nostalgia and innovation. The day would come when I would put everything on the line, a culmination of my father's dreams intertwined with my own aspirations. I envisioned the moment where I could unveil my meticulously crafted plan, not just as an employee, not just as the overlooked sister, but as a partner in this journey. There was still much to do, and I was ready for whatever came next. The day of my family meeting arrived with all the dread and anticipation of a student preparing for their final exam. I had been rehearsing my presentation for days, making sure that every word I spoke would reflect not only the analytical research I had compiled, but the emotional foundation that connected us all. I knew I could sketch out convincing statistics and forecasts, but even more crucial was ensuring my family felt included in the conversation. As I drove to the office for our meeting, I felt the weight of my father's absence settle heavy in the passenger seat beside me, as if his spirit was granting me strength while simultaneously leading me to confront our shared history. I breathed in deeply, parking in the familiar parking lot, and planted my feet on the ground, summoning a sense of courage. Today was my chance. Today I would reclaim my rightful place. I entered the office. The rich scent of polished wood and the hum of activity surrounding me felt both comforting and oppressive. There they were, my family members gathered around the long conference table. Daniel with his usual bravado, Sophia observing curiously from the sidelines. Hope flickered within me as I discerned a glimmer of tentative openness in their eyes. Perhaps they were hungry for change, just as much as I was. "Thank you all for being here," I said, my voice steady, though my heart raced. "Today I want to share a vision I've been working on to rejuvenate our family business and, in doing so, honor Dad's legacy." A murmur passed through the room, a blend of skepticism and intrigue. I could feel Daniel's critical combative energy from across the table, yet there were no sharp jabs so far. I pressed on, grounding myself in the emotional context that had risen to the forefront of my research. "I've taken a close look at industry trends and analyzed our competitors. Our current approach isn't aligning with evolving market dynamics," I started, sliding the first page of my presentation toward them. "However, I believe we have the potential to really innovate while adhering to the core values Dad instilled in us." Next, I introduced stats depicting the market share we had slowly lost over the years and the newly emerging demographics that were gravitating towards our competitors. I observed their reactions, polite interest mingling with unease, yet I knew this was just the beginning. As I unfolded my story, I wove my father's personal anecdotes into the data. Dad believed in family, hard work, and adaptation. Can we honor his legacy by combining those values with modern innovation? I saw Daniel's expression shift slightly. Perhaps hope kindled in his eyes, if only for a moment. "Furthermore," I continued, "this isn't just about profit margins. It's about uniting our family in this journey. We can only succeed if we work together." Sophia, always the quieter sibling, leaned forward, her eyes fixed on me intently. "Can you elaborate on how this plan addresses the emotional aspects?" I welcomed the question like a lifebuoy amidst turbulent waters. "Absolutely," I replied. "We must recognize the emotional ties we have with this business. I propose launching a campaign that tells our family story and invites our customers into it. It's about sharing our values, what we stand for, and connecting with our customers on a deeper level." The atmosphere shifted as Sophia nodded appreciatively, and I knew I was gaining ground. I went on to outline specifics, community events where we could engage with local customers, harnessing social media to highlight our family heritage, and a customer loyalty program inspired by our father's customer-centric approach. "Connecting emotionally is as important as the numbers," I emphasized. "We can establish ourselves as not just a business, but a family brand, one that customers can genuinely believe in." Just then, I could feel Daniel's skepticism rising up again. "And what makes you think these changes will actually work?" His tone dripped with skepticism, and a tight knot formed in my stomach. I took a deep breath, my mind processing his resistance, but instead of floundering, I felt fortified by the preparation I had done. Because the market is changing, and so must we. After tapping into our audience's sentiments, I am confident they will rally behind what we launch. But it starts here, with us standing as one united front. His eyes narrowed, but one particularly brave voice emerged from the group, a cousin who had remained quiet. "I see your passion, and I think I want to believe. But is there a roadmap? Can you show us how this transitions from vision to reality?" Encouraged by their underlying interest, I revealed my action plan. Each step was meticulously laid out with timelines and goals I hoped to achieve. I detailed how we would involve each family member in the process, ensuring that their voices would not only be heard, but become integral to the journey ahead. Teamwork will be our cornerstone. We can host brainstorming sessions, tap into everyone's strengths, and create roles that enhance our efforts as a family, I said, allowing them to ponder the potential shifts. I could sense the tension ease, the spark of collaboration seeming more feasible than ever. As I continued to speak, I could see the seeds of hope sprouting as I painted an enticing picture of a shared future. I emphasized our collective responsibility and the memories we had shared, inviting them to step into this relaunch together. I relayed moments of my father mentoring each of us, drawing parallels between his lessons on resilience and the challenges we now faced. Meeting their eyes, I concluded, "Together, we are stronger. Let's not only preserve Dad's legacy, but also breathe life into it, crafting a story that we, as a family, can proudly share with the world." A hush fell in the room as my words hung in the air, charged with anticipation. I held my breath, waiting for their responses, recalling Mia's words about the importance of addressing emotions. I focused on the hopeful atmosphere enveloping my family, allowing it to nourish my resolve. At that moment, I could feel the tide starting to turn, an understanding building as though we were all beginning to embrace the vision together. No longer just my plan, but a vision we could collectively foster. I had chosen to stand in the gap of skepticism, casting my net wider to ensnare the possibility of collaboration and family unity. As I awaited their reactions, a calm settled within me. I had finally articulated my desires, my hopes, and most importantly, my vision for our family legacy. The room felt heavy with silence as I awaited my family's responses. My heart raced between hope and anxiety, knowing that this moment could either strengthen us or unravel everything. After what felt like an eternity, Daniel finally broke the stillness, uneasiness clear on his face. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. This plan seems ambitious, but how do we know we can trust it?" His question sliced through the room like a knife. I steadied my breath, aware that the air was thick with tension and skepticism. "I've spent countless hours researching and crafting this strategy to align with current market conditions," I replied, meeting his gaze. "It's not just numbers on a page. This has the potential to rekindle our family bond." Sophia, usually the quiet observer, leaned into the conversation. "What about our roles? If we're going to do this, we need a clear understanding of how to contribute effectively. I don't want us to repeat past mistakes." "Exactly," I said, relieved to see her stepping forward. "Each of us brings unique strengths to this family business. Together, we can form teams focused on different goals: marketing, product development, customer outreach. Everyone will have their part to play." Daniel narrowed his eyes as if trying to decipher my intentions. "You're talking about our past mistakes as if they were just bumps on the road. We almost lost everything once. Why should I believe this won't lead us there again?" Frustration boiled inside me, but I fought to keep my composure. "You're right to be cautious. Holding on to fear about our past failures will only prevent us from evolving. We must embrace change if we want to grow." "Or maybe you're just trying to take over," he shot back, the defensiveness evident in his voice. The tension thickened again, air heavy with unspoken grievances. I felt my heart sink at the sharpness of his words. Nothing stung like the suggestion that I was after authority rather than collaboration. "I don't want to usurp anyone's role. I want to work together," I said, my voice steadying. "Look, I know we have a history filled with challenges, but our father's vision depended on teamwork and mutual support." Sophia's voice interjected softly. "Can we think beyond our past failures? We need to focus on what we can build for the future." As her words hung in the air, I realized we might all be ready for change, despite the tension. Yes, we must address both our legacy and our future. Let's figure out how we can do both together. I glanced at Daniel, his expression showing signs of softening. "All right," he said reluctantly. "Let's give it a shot. But it's crucial everyone remains involved." Relief washed over me. "Absolutely. I propose we schedule weekly meetings to discuss our strategies and adjust as necessary. This isn't a unilateral decision. I want every one of us to feel invested." Daniel nodded slowly, and I turned to Sophia, who mirrored the sense of hope blossoming between us. "We'll need metrics to track our progress," she added. "Concrete ways to ensure everyone feels accountable." "Definitely," I replied, feeling invigorated. "We'll create a dashboard of key performance indicators, ensuring we can measure our successes and challenges. Key metrics will keep all of us focused." As I spoke, momentum began to build among us. The older wounds might sting, but the prospect of working together felt like the first warm rays of sun breaking through a long winter. The shadows of our past challenges remained, but perhaps addressing those experiences would help us not repeat them. "Remember, this journey requires vulnerability," I spoke gently. "We have to confront our feelings. They'll impact our business decisions." Daniel crossed his arms, his posture still defensive. "You want to confront things? How about we start with the truth about why everything fell apart before?" The air thickened, and I could sense old conflicts resurfacing, like ghosts emerging from the shadows. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what was at stake. We can't move forward until we face those issues. If we're serious about healing, we need to tackle them together. Sophia looked hesitant but nodded. "If we're going to do this, it needs to be honest. No more tiptoeing around." I resolved to turn this confrontation into something constructive. "Agreed. But let's commit to acting as a team. The healing will only have power if we approach it together." Everyone nodded, revealing a willingness to confront our past. A sense of relief began to wash over me. Maybe this was our opportunity to strengthen our family bond and dispel lingering resentments. As we moved forward in our discussion, we began navigating through painful grievances, silent struggles clawing their way to the surface. I shared my feelings of being undermined, how it haunted me. With each truthful moment, trust began to rebuild. This was becoming less of a business conversation and more of a family therapy session. Though the path ahead remained uncertain, we had finally begun addressing the roots of our conflict. Each step forward, however filled with discomfort, offered a chance at healing. I felt the tides of change rolling in, hope blending with the warmth of our shared history. As the meeting wrapped up, a sense of quiet resolve filled the space. We were no longer simply participants in a family business. We were architects of our legacy, actively shaping a future that honored our past while striving for something greater. The threads of our family ties were being strengthened, woven together by the acceptance of our vulnerabilities and a newfound commitment to each other. My heart swelled with cautious optimism. We had taken the first significant step toward reconciliation, not just in business, but within the bonds of our family. The journey ahead remained daunting, but stepping into this shared vision felt like the dawn of renewal. As I left the meeting room, I felt a renewed purpose emerging from within. Whatever challenges awaited us, I was ready to face them, not alone, but as a united family, working together to realize the vision that had sparked hope in our hearts. As the days transformed into weeks, the energy around our meetings shifted. We were no longer just discussing dry business metrics. Laughter and warmth started to seep into our gatherings. With each session, I noticed refreshing glimmers of hope in my siblings' eyes, signs of the potential we could truly achieve together. Embracing my proposed strategy, our roles fell into place more naturally. Daniel took charge of marketing, his creativity reviving the passion within our products. Sophia brought her organizational skills to the forefront, meticulously tracking our progress and setting clear objectives. I focused on developing our core offerings, steadily nurturing my vision into something that felt not just feasible, but exciting. With every meeting, the synergy we cultivated turned into tangible outcomes. Our earlier disagreements faded into distant memories as we constructed a renewed relationship built on respect and collaboration. This era of teamwork was more than just professional, it felt personal, crucial for creating a brighter future together. One evening, as we convened around the Warren family dining table, I could see the evidence of our collective efforts before us. Drafts of marketing pitches sprawled across the surface, scattered alongside sketches of product ideas. "Look at this," Daniel exclaimed, excitement evident in his voice. "It's the most optimistic I've felt about our business in years. We're on to something great. Absolutely, I responded, a wave of pride swelling within me. We're not just restoring Dad's legacy, we're crafting one of our own. As I looked around at my siblings nodding heads, I felt the familiar pull of our shared history. The photos lining the shelves caught my eye, each frame a reminder of our laughter, challenges, and unwavering love. Now, it was time to reclaim that bond and build upon it without fear. Flying through the weeks, our project began to blossom. Positive feedback from potential customers confirmed we had shifted from merely surviving to authentically thriving. Each small victory, boosted by our unity, fortified our resolve. But I knew the challenges ahead could still be daunting. A chaotic market demanded our focus and adaptability. Yet with each other, I felt we were strong enough to weather any storm. The bond we'd nourished created a fortress against uncertainty. During one of our meetings, I paused intentionally to reflect. Remember where we started, I encouraged everyone. Every success we achieve reminds us how far we've come together. The struggles we faced taught us resilience, a lesson that will continue guiding us. No one should ignore our past, Sophia added thoughtfully. Those experiences shape who we are and motivate us. As we delved deeper, the sessions morphed from business discussions into valuable family therapy moments. We explored the emotional complexities that colored our journey, drawing strength from our vulnerabilities. Together, we even established an annual family retreat. This would be our sacred time to reflect, reinforce our values, and celebrate our progress. Our mission extended beyond business. It was about authentic connection and intentional healing. The day of our launch arrived. As I stood on stage, my siblings by my side, I felt a mix of excitement and gratitude. When I spoke to the audience, I emphasized not just our products, but the journey we had undertaken, the trials we overcame, the relationships we rebuilt, and the legacy we continued to forge. This is not just about a business, it's about the rebirth of our family, I declared, unwavering in my conviction. We are committed to honoring the lessons of our past while creating a future together. As enthusiastic applause erupted around us, I felt a weight lift, a cathartic release solidifying our commitment to one another. We had become more than just a family facing challenges. We had morphed into co-creators of our shared destiny. Our family legacy was alive and vibrant once again, each heartbeat echoing the promise of renewal. Amid uncertainty, we stood strong, bound by love and unity, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. They thought they had left me with nothing. What would you have done? Drop your answer in the comments and follow this channel. If this story is touching your heart, please consider sending a super chat to support the channel. Are you enjoying this journey with me? Show your support by sending super stickers. Did you feel that sense of justice? Show your appreciation by clicking the super thanks button. They thought they had left me with nothing.